Marilyn Johnson asks, can you offer any suggestions on going from someone doing amazing open mics to getting seen and booked at clubs? In your
So for us, normally what I would say would be, do the open mics, do the legwork, and then we do, a lot of this is pre-COVID. We would do a lot of showcase shows, and that gives everyone an opportunity to kind of get their feet wet on the big stage. But for the foreseeable future, our off nights aren't going to be what they were, unfortunately. Just because it's going to be a whole new ball game for the first few months until everything kind of calms down or vaccination happens or whatever, or vaccine, sorry. But yeah, honestly, if you are around and you attend shows and you just take in all that is the comedy world, it really, really, really helps. If you go catch a show, you can, like we were talking about this earlier, you can learn so much from just watching a true headliner, more so than just working on your own stuff. Like just going and attending a show and just seeing, how someone's cadence is and how somebody behaves and how somebody works the room and a little bit of crowd work, but not too much, because then you open up the absolute nightmare box of crazies. But yeah, honestly, just being around it and going and taking in as much as you can, it really, really makes a difference in your day, in my opinion.
As a comedian, I saw and went through the process of how to go from the low man on the totem pole or the low person on the totem pole to the person who's closing the shows, where you got to go through those steps.
All the work.
The better you do at the mics, the more people approach you to get into shows, the more the managers and the bookers hear good feedback about you.
Yep.
And I can quickly say how I met Krista before we actually met. I got a gig, and not to go too far into it, but I had good feedback at the open mic at the bar. And then I left my business card and my bottle of hot sauce on Krista's desk.
Yep.
I asked where the manager was, and she wasn't there. So I left a little note, said, "Thanks so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. I look forward to meeting you." And that, not only with Krista, but has been a way that I've gotten into lots of the venues that I work with.
Yeah,
And then
just
when you
being
come
normal.
in and work.
Yep, just being normal and friendly and not too overbearing. Please don't sneak into the green room as a quick way for me to tell you to get out. I'm like, what are you doing on this couch? You don't belong back here. Thanks. But even like I had luck of the draw. We had a miscommunication with the advance for one of the bigger name comics when Pete Holmes was in town back in December. And I happened to just have one of our local stronger guys on a date night, and I interrupted his date night to ask him to MC because their MC wasn't there. And it was a huge, but had he just been there and not someone that I was familiar with, that never would have happened. And he was floored that I even asked him. I was like, hi, so can I get you to, since their person isn't here, can you help me? And it worked out, and it was a cool surprise. I interrupted date night, but it was
but awesome. you made him look great in front of his date.
Yeah, and he killed it for us, which was also great, because then they were like, "Oh, we don't even need our guy. Like, we could just use this person all weekend." I was like, "Yeah, whatever you need to do." So yeah, it was a cool opportunity, but those opportunities come to those who are like lingering around and just, as obviously as a guest. But yeah, little things happen and things fall into place. So
I've gotten so many guest spots just by supporting shows. I remember my very first time at the Fort Lauderdale Improv was just because I was hanging out with Steve Byrne and looking up to older comics.
Yeah.
And literally it was him, then Brian Callen, and then Owen Benjamin, all in like a month, offered me guest spots just for me hanging out.
Yeah, which is nice.
But to you, how important is a good MC? Talking about bringing that guy up.
It is really, really important that you can hold your own. It's really, really important, in my personal opinion, because I hate being the one to have to throw people out of a room. But a lot of the tone of the show is based on that first person that gets on stage. We can make announcements all night, like keep your table talk to a minimum, please stay off your phone. None of that matters if the MC can't hold their own on stage. It really sets the tone for the entire show. Getting the announcements out of the way, again, reiterating what we've already announced in the video and in the announcements. Just, it really sets the tone for the show. And honestly, it takes a lot to be able to get a crowd to listen to you, especially if you have super fans that are waiting for the headliner. I mean, you're up for a fight, but it's definitely something that you have to be a strong MC. Like, you really have to, because you'll lose them and then you'll never get them back. And then it's a struggle until the headliner's on stage.
It's not for everybody, that's for sure.
It isn't.
If
I
you're
mean,
not into emceeing, fantastic. But if you are,
but
then be the
honestly,
best you can.
it's like comedy boot camp. Like, that's where everyone needs to start, because if you can't handle that position, you don't need to be middling or headlining. Like, you got to be able to work the ranks, and that is where you start. It's comedy boot camp. I will say it again and again. I mean, an open mic stage is one thing, but to actually MC an audience, whew, it's a lot, especially when those people aren't your fans. They don't know you. They don't care about you. They're there for someone else. They're on their first date. They're talking to their girlfriends. I mean, it's a lot. You got to be able to hone the room and capture them.